Minister Peter Garrett has found himself in strife again, this time in Newcastle, where many locals are angry that he intends to knock back a major redevelopment on one of the city's most historic sites, Nobby's Head. Many viewers will remember it as the scenic backdrop to those dramatic images we saw last year when storms drove the Pasha Bulker ashore on Newcastle's best-known beach. Of course, not all Novocastrians are angry with Mr Garrett. The city's more heritage-minded residents are appalled by the plan to build a restaurant and boutique-style hotel accommodation on the landmark. Nick Grimm reports.
For anyone wanting a good look at Newcastle, this is an unbeatable spot to see it from. But extraordinarily, few locals and even fewer visitors to the city get to see this breathtaking perspective of the state's second largest city. Nobby's Head is usually closed to the public. The exceptions are those who join small guided tours like this one, conducted just a few times each year.
So it is a very, very important facility for us in an operational sense.
We deserve access to that site. We deserve for people to be able to go up there and see the view over the city and to watch the ships come in and to soak up the heritage of that magnificent lighthouse.
In fact, Novocastrians are virtually unanimous in wanting the site thrown open to the public. The sticking point, however, is just how that should be done. Plans to put an upmarket restaurant and luxury accommodation on the site have divided locals.
I'd just like to see this stay the same rather than get overdeveloped.
Well, till today I knew what they were going to do but hadn't seen how they were going to do it. And having seen that, I think it fits in very well.
The best tourist places, the best places to see heritage are those that have been left untouched.
Nobby shot to international prominence last June when the bulk carrier the Pasha Bulker ran aground on the beach that lies in its shadow. But long before it had loomed into view, locals were already debating how to preserve the heritage of a site that historians like Anne Hardy acknowledge has been in a constant state of transition since white settlement began. So Anne Hardy, a lot of people don't realise that Newcastle's famous Nobby's beach here was actually man-made.
That's right. Nobbys was originally an island and the breakwater was built early in the 1800s by convict labour.
And somewhere along the decades, the beach grew around it.
It did. It slowly evolved over, a long time. That originally there would have been, like the entrance of the harbour, that the water would have gone straight through here where we're standing.
In those days, Nobbys was an island, jutting out of the ocean like a jagged, broken tooth. Over time, earthworks saw it worn down to a stump. Plans were even developed for its obliteration, with tunnels drilled and to be filled with explosives so it could be blown to bits. But sanity prevailed, and Nobbys was instead joined to the mainland with a convict-built breakwater. Today, the lighthouse on Nobby still guards the entrance to Newcastle's busy harbour, and remains a beacon to shipping up and down the coastline.
We've come to realise exactly how important this site is, and I think Newcastle's just slowly coming to grips with, how valuable a lot of this history is.
Even now, you can readily find examples of the attempts by Newcastle's artists to reinterpret the place Nobbys holds in the hearts and minds of most locals.
I think the problem with heritage is that it has to be engaging, it has to be relevant to today's people, and it shouldn't be just relevant to those few people who choose that as their hobby.
If your partner isn't there...
Nobby's would-be developer, Neil Slater, already owns one of Newcastle's best-known restaurants, but he dreams of building a 50-seat restaurant and bed and breakfast accommodation on top of Nobby's. A kiosk and public viewing platform would also wrap around the 151-year-old lighthouse. Neil Slater dismisses those who argue he'll ruin the historic site.
And I don't think they should just have their heritage locked away just for them to appreciate it and keep all us, buffoons away from it because we're not appreciative enough of it.
The project does have the backing of Newcastle City Council, local tourism chiefs, as well as the Blue Collar Towns Trades Hall Council. State Labor MP Jodie McKay is also an enthusiastic supporter.
The majority of the Newcastle community want this proposal to go ahead. They want access to this site.
However, the development is opposed by the National Trust, as well as a local residents group and the Newcastle chapter of the Surf Riders Foundation.
The proposal was to give safe public access to the site, and we were the preferred tenderer. In fact, we were the only tenderer who actually didn't need a government grant to fulfil their dream.
The lighthouse stands on Commonwealth land, putting the decision into the hands of Federal Environment Minister Peter Garrett. He's already revealed that, barring a dramatic last-minute change of heart, he intends to serve Neil Slater up some bad news.
I hope Peter Garrett's not looking for you while
Well, he might. If he's
serving
looking for me, I'll have the phone in my pocket ready to talk to him at any time.
I think for Minister Garrett, it's likely to be the first decision that he'll make around built heritage. So there's a lot of people that are really waiting to see exactly what decision he'll make.
And that decision will no doubt be guided by Peter Garrett's own low-key visit to Nobby's Head to see for himself how the development will impact on the site. Though that on-the-ground personal investigation earned him a rebuff from his state Labor colleague, Jodie McKay, who says she was incredibly disappointed with the way the Environment Minister slunk into town, as she's described his visit.
I think that the Minister needs to know that we in Newcastle have a view, and when he came to Newcastle he didn't meet with anyone, which I think was really disappointing.
Do you think that he's mishandled this issue?
I was disappointed in the way he's managed this, and certainly he didn't meet with any community groups, he didn't meet with residents, and I think that he needs to get a full understanding of how people feel.
So what happens if he does knock back the application as he's foreshadowed? Is that the end of the matter?
Look, that's a really good question. I don't know where to from here if he knocks it back. I think that there'll be a great deal of disappointment within the community if he does go down that path without properly listening to the other arguments that people are putting forward.
Problem is, to whom should the Minister listen? He's invited public submissions, and it's a fair bet he's been dished up plenty of food for thought.
I would be happy to see the houses used, but a restaurant, definitely no. In fact, I don't see where they want a food outlet at any of these places. We're overweight, we eat too much, and we want to go down this track.
Artist Arthur